You're listening to Unhooked. On today's episode, 5 surprising ways that your porn habit is costing you more than you think. So, stay tuned.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Hi, I'm Jeremy Lipwitz, and with over 12 years of meditation experience as a mindfulness trainer and coach for high performers, I've become obsessed with helping people break free from compulsive, unhealthy behaviors and addictions and step into a life of true freedom so that they can finally become their best selves and cultivate deeper and lasting fulfillment. I've created Unhooked, the Breaking Porn Addiction podcast, to give you simple, actionable, step-by-step strategies to master your mind and optimize your life. This is Unhooked. So welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Unhooked. I am excited to be with you here today, and I want to start off today's episode just by sharing some love. So I want to share some new reviews that have come in. These are 5-star reviews that have come in on iTunes. So the first one comes from Regular, and they said, "This podcast is exactly what I was looking for. It's not about religion. It's very human and understanding, and it has helped me a lot." And I just want to appreciate you for leaving this comment. And, this is something that I try to emphasize on this podcast, is that this is not about religion. This is not about, sin. This is not about being a bad person or anything like that. Watching porn doesn't make you a sinner. But the question is it improving your life or is it harming your life? And are the consequences outweighing the benefits? And so I'm really glad that you guys are picking up on this, that this is not about religion. It's not about sin or morality, but it's about living a better life and looking at the ways in which you can improve your life by improving your habits. Another 5-star review I want to share comes from Fireark, who says, "This podcast is an incredibly straightforward approach to a topic that affects so many people. Jeremy shares his experience and offers his point of view in a rational and judgment-free manner that is both comforting and challenging at the same time." So again, thank you so much for leaving these reviews. They really help the podcast. And this is something that I normally say at the very end of the episode, but I'll say it at the beginning this time. If you want to support this podcast, if you want to support me and the message, the best way to do that right now is just to leave a review. It helps get this podcast in front of more people's eyes. So if you can take the time to leave a review, drop some words, whatever you think about the podcast, it really does mean so much to me, and I appreciate it so much. So thank you once again. And without further ado, let's dive into the content for today. So in this episode today, I'm going to be walking through the ways that your porn habit is not only costing you your time, but also how it can be holding you back professionally, physically, financially, and emotionally. Because if you think that the porn that you're watching is free, think again. You might not have to whip out your credit card or pay anything the moment you open up your browser, but your porn habit is actually costing you way more than you realize. And that's what I want to talk about today. So number 1, the first way that your porn habit is costing you is time. I want you to take a moment just to consider how many hours a week are you numbing out in front of a screen. You can insert whatever digital addiction it is that you are dealing with: Netflix, YouTube, porn, Instagram. How many hours a week are you lost in intentional distraction? Now, when I work with clients around porn addiction, I often hear a similar phrase, something like, "I don't want to get to the end of my life and realize I wasted all my time watching porn." For myself, when I was in college and really dealing with my own porn addiction, I was watching on average around 2 hours of porn every night. Sometimes it might have been an hour, sometimes it might have been a little over 2 hours. On some days, if I was hungover, for example, or stressed about an upcoming exam, you could, add that up to 4 or 5 hours. Now, if you multiply that daily average by about 10 years, you get around 10,000 hours. And that's how long it takes to actually become an expert in something. So in many ways, you could say that I had become an expert in watching porn. And for myself, I often wonder what I could have accomplished in my life if I had spent that time more wisely. If I had spent that time in a more productive manner. Could I have learned a few new languages, mastered an instrument, gotten my black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu? Who knows what I could have accomplished? Because the thing is, porn has a hidden opportunity cost. You are spending massive amounts of time on something that is not making your life any better, aside from just providing a temporary fix or temporary pleasure, when you could be spending that time on doing activities that provide more meaning to your life, or actually growth in your life. So just imagine for a moment that I could wave a magic wand and give you 2 to 3 more uninterrupted hours each day to spend however you like. What would you do with that time? When you got to the end of your life, how would you have liked to have spent your time on this earth? Now, these are important questions to ask yourself. So that is the first way that your porn habit is costing more than you think, is the hidden opportunity cost, the time that it is costing you. Number 2, the second way that your porn habit is costing more than you think is your income or money. Now, there are 2 different ways that it costs you money. What I will call the obvious way, and then what I will call the non-obvious way. So the obvious way is things like paying for porn, or things like OnlyFans where you have to pay. Also things like escorts, where it escalates into some of these other behaviors that are actually costing you money. There are many ways that a porn habit can escalate into things that cost money, whether it's paying for porn or OnlyFans or getting into things like escorts. But the second is the non-obvious ways that it's costing you money. So if you are a professional, or if you are an entrepreneur, or if you have a job of any sort, it helps to know what your hourly rate is. Now, you might know it already. You might have a job that actually pays you an hourly rate, or you might have a salary, in which case you can do a simple calculation to figure it out. So if you take your annual income and divide it by 2,080, you can get a rough estimate of your hourly wage. So if you make $100,000 a year, your hourly wage is around $50 per hour. Now, to make this more real, one of my clients that I work with is a lawyer and makes around $700 an hour. Now, if he's spending 5 to 6 hours of screen time every day, split between porn and Instagram and scrolling on social media, it's easy to see how much money he's leaving behind because of his addictions. So I want you to check in with yourself. How much money are you leaving on the table because of your addiction? If you add up porn and Instagram and social media, if you're spending 4 hours a day scrolling and you make $100 an hour or $50 an hour, add that up over a year, what are you losing per year? So once you look at this, it's hard to avoid the truth that porn is costing you money even if you're not paying for it up front. Again, it's about the opportunity cost. And there's another way that it actually costs you money indirectly, and this is through focus and attention. And this is the third way that it's costing you more than you think, is the effect on your focus and attention. Now, we know from modern neuroscience, and especially from the understanding of neuroplasticity, that what you think and do and even pay attention to changes the structure and function of your brain. So there's a famous neuroscientist, a quote from Donald Hebb, who once wrote, "Neurons that fire together wire together." What this means is that the more time you spend watching porn and fantasizing about sex, the stronger those neural pathways become. And one of the disturbing effects of porn addiction is that it is hardwiring your brain to be thinking about sex all the time. When I was in the midst of my own porn addiction struggles, it was not an exaggeration to say that I thought about sex every 5 to 10 seconds. It was the default mode of my mind. I couldn't focus on anything for long before I started thinking about sex or started thinking about hooking up or fantasizing about women. Now, if you are a knowledge worker, or if you are someone who needs to be thinking and working deeply for a living, this attention trap can be hazardous for your career growth, not to mention for your sanity or for your happiness, but that's another topic. Let's say you want to write a book, but you just don't seem to be able to ever get in the zone, or you want to study for exams, but you can't find the focus or attention, or you want to create a new online course, but you can't find enough concentration to sit down and draft an outline. Your mind will keep thinking about porn, about lust, about distraction. So porn costs you one of the most valuable resources known to man, and this is your attention. In many ways, your attention is your whole world. Everything in your experience is where you're placing your attention. So it would be wise to take care of it and nurture it, to make sure that you are cultivating this resource that is so valuable. So that is the third way that porn will cost you more than you think, is how it takes away your focus and attention. Now, the fourth way that your porn habit is costing more than you think is your energy, your physical energy. Porn has an actual physical energetic cost to it. Now, I personally don't know the full mechanism behind this. Maybe it's about chi or energy or something, spiritual that is beyond me. I don't know, and I don't really care, because the thing is I've felt it, and so have thousands or millions of other men. When you are spending hours each day turning into a zombie in front of your screen, it drains you physically. It makes you feel weak and tired and unmotivated. I have experienced this firsthand myself, and also seen it with my clients, that when you give up porn, it actually gives you more energy and vitality. You feel energized, you feel stronger. It starts a fire inside of you and motivates you to take action in your life, to be more decisive, to get out and conquer the world in whatever way that, whatever that means to you. It's like getting out and accomplishing and achieving and taking action in your life. So I want you to just ask yourself, what would you do if you woke up feeling energized? What would you do if you could let go of your indecision? In what ways would your life improve if you had more vitality and strength? Porn is one of these just energy suckers. It steals away your energy, your vitality, and your strength. So that is the fourth way that it costs you more than you think. The fifth way, and this is probably the most important aspect of porn addiction, is how it affects your overall life satisfaction. And when I say satisfaction, I mean in every aspect of your life, in your relationships, in how you relate to what you have, your gratitude, your relationship with food, with money, everything. One of the side effects of watching porn is that you're getting hooked on novelty and dopamine. It's a habit that makes you want more and more and more. And in part, this is because modern day porn is vastly different from your grandfather's porn. Instead of pulling out an old magazine or renting a VHS tape, now porn is on these tube sites, these online databases with hundreds of thousands or millions of videos. In a typical porn session, you spend your time searching for that perfect video, that perfect girl. And on any given night, you might see hundreds or thousands of different women. And on a neurological level, every time you see a new face or a new body, you get a little dopamine dump. And what's happening is that you're getting addicted to that novelty. Rather than learning how to find satisfaction in a single beautiful woman over the course of months or years, and really going deep in your understanding of exploring the beauty in a single thing, you get hooked on, I need something new. I need something exciting. And this, there's a neurological mechanism behind this. It's sometimes called the Coolidge effect, where we get aroused when we see a new woman. That even, if we're with the same woman, at some point, we kind of stop wanting to have sex. But if you put a new woman in the mix, it's like, okay, all of a sudden we're ready to go. Now, if you translate onto your life, each night you're hunting for something new, something exciting. This again is called that hedonic adaptation. You get used to whatever pleasant stimulus you give it, and you need to keep feeding it with more to experience the same level of satisfaction. So your brain has been trained, hardwired for years or maybe even decades to only be satisfied when you give it novelty. When you get into a new relationship with a new person, they might satisfy you temporarily, but after a time, the honeymoon phase wears off and you start getting bored. And rather than realizing it's your own brain that's messed up, you blame it on the partner. They must not be right for me, or I need someone more attractive, or I need someone with bigger breasts or a bigger butt, or whatever it is. The porn is creating that neurological environment that craves novelty and perfection. So the existence of these tube sites with millions of searchable videos makes you feel like perfection is attainable because it's just a single click away. You don't have to try very hard. And it limits your ability to actually feel content, to be appreciative. It makes you hungry for finding something better. So feeling fulfilled in relationships will be impossible if your mind is always focused on what could be better, what new thing do I want? And in my eyes, this is perhaps the most damaging aspect of porn because it not only affects your own happiness, it affects your partner's as well. So if you want healthy relationships, it's time to stop feeding your mind junk food. It's time to start cultivating gratitude, appreciation for what's in front of you. And of course, there's a line there, it's finding the balance between someone that really does, that you do love, that you do appreciate, someone that does attract you, but also realizing it's a never-ending cycle. You can get hooked on just wanting something new. So that is the fifth way that it costs you more than you think, is that it takes away your ability to appreciate, to be grateful, to feel satisfied. Because porn, the theme for porn is never enough. There's this feeling that you always want more. I want something more. I want something more. It's never ultimately satisfying because you always think, I just need that dopamine dump. I just need that next video. I just need that new genre, whatever it is. So that's the fifth one. And those, to me, are the 5 surprising ways that your porn habit is costing more than you think. So what I'm curious for you is, what else is there? In what other ways is porn negatively affecting your life? The way to think about this, again, porn is not a sin. Watching porn does not mean you're going to hell. But the question is, when you start to look at the consequences, is this improving your life or is it causing harm? And when you look at these 5 things, it's kind of hard to say that it's actually benefiting your life for most people, because most people, it's hard to have a very healthy relationship with it. It's hard to watch it once a month in a healthy way. And so just think for yourself, is this something you want to keep in your life, or is it time to cut the cord? Is it time to say, hey, this is no longer benefiting my life. I need to make a change. So that's it for today. I hope you've enjoyed this. I already mentioned it at the beginning, but again, if you want to support this podcast, please leave a review. That's the best way for now. And reach out, get connected on Instagram. I love hearing from you guys. It really does mean a lot. Just in the past couple weeks, I've had a few of you guys reach out just with a personal note, and it means so much to me. So feel free to add me on Instagram and just drop me a note and let me know, how this podcast is affecting your life, what you want to hear more of, what has touched you, what has made an impact. I really appreciate those as well. So that's it. Signing off from Amsterdam. I hope you all have a beautiful day ahead, and a beautiful week and a beautiful life. That's it. I'll see you guys on the next episode. Much love. Peace out.